Welcome back to another Book Talk with Tracy. Last time, in the last episode, I actually read a very short segment from this book, Frayed Strands. And I read actually from the second novella because this is actually a collection of 3 novellas, all based on characters from the 3 Strand Chord series that I had written. And these are characters that were fairly minor characters in those other books, but I just felt like they had more to say. They had more of their story needed to be told. So last time I actually read from the second novella, A Strand of Bitterness, from Jeremy Lemming's point of view. Jeremy appears in Tempest Tossed. But today I want to read from the very first novella, which is, in fact, called A Thread of Revenge. And this novella is from the point of view of Andy Coates, an FBI agent who we actually meet him in 2 of the 3 Strand Chord books. He's in Blood Ties, and he's also in Tempest Tossed. He is the partner of another more important character in those books, Ryan O'Toole. In any case, this is Andy's story. So I thought I would just read from chapter 1. FBI agent Andy Coates swiveled in the cushy desk chair, testing its comfort. Finally, king of his own private office, and not just any office. One wall was totally glass, including the door. It was previously occupied by his best friend and fellow agent, Ryan O'Toole, but Ryan was on his honeymoon, and rumor had it he was to be promoted to assistant director upon his return. Andy had wasted no time in taking over occupancy. Andy took one more spin. He was going to enjoy every minute of this newfound privacy. He deserved it, and then some. The last couple months had been harrowing. Make that crazy. No, complete chaos. The whole bureau had been turned upside down. Their own assistant director had turned out to be dirty, selling drugs that were supposed to be kept in evidence. Now the entire LA bureau of the FBI was under investigation. It was Andy's partner, Ryan, and his intrepid nature, that had cracked open the truth. Ryan was like that, a dog with a bone. But truth did not come without a price. Now, all the cases Assistant Director Reynolds had worked were under review. It meant some very bad people might get released. It also meant upheaval in the day-to-day operations of the Bureau. So-called unbiased investigators ran around acting like they were superior beings. Both Andy and Ryan had been cleared, but there was still a lot of awkwardness within the ranks. The investigation was ongoing, and it was difficult to know who to trust. Some comrades were put on suspension, pending the final results, even though they might be innocent. The rotten smell was deep, and had spread to other law enforcement agencies too. Andy wasn't sure if they would ever know who was clean and who wasn't. Maybe that wasn't even possible. He doubted investigators could root everyone out. A certain element would always color outside the lines, so to speak, and in this situation, organized crime was likely involved. Then there was the media circus surrounding the whole affair. The fact that Assistant Director Reynolds, the highest-ranking FBI officer in LA, was actually dirty did not help foster a good reputation between law enforcement and the general citizenry. As if they needed that blow to their image, mistrust ramped up 100 degrees. Despite triumphant press releases to the contrary, he knew he and his comrades on the force would have to tread lightly on every side of the fence. Then there was the personal toll. Andy shook his head. There was no point dwelling on the negative. He'd been through the paces, psych evaluation, and the whole 9 yards. He knew the department was doing its job. They had to make sure their officers were fit for duty after a traumatic experience. But this wasn't his first rodeo. After all his years on the force, he wasn't about to succumb to PTSD over a little abduction and torture. Besides, he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Ryan was his best friend, and they'd been through a lot together. Someone rapped on the glass door, breaking Andy's reverie. He gestured for the newcomer to enter. Sorry to interrupt. Agent Lexi Cabrera poked her head around the door. I have those reports you were asking for. Thanks, come in. Cabrera handed him a blue file folder and then glanced around. "Looks like you're settling in," she paused, "if using the furniture as an exhibition ride is any indication." Andy laughed. "You saw that, did you? I knew this office was a fishbowl, but I thought you hard-working types would be too busy to notice." He flipped open the folder and started scanning its contents, aware of Agent Cabrera's continued scrutiny. So much for privacy. A guy probably had more of that in Gen Pop, where you blended in. "You know me, always hard at work," Agent Cabrera said. Andy glanced up, about to shoot out a clever comeback, but his voice got stuck in his throat. Cabrera was standing with her arms crossed, smiling. She was tall, almost his height, which was saying a lot since he was 6 feet, and she was tough, too. She could handle herself. A really good officer, not afraid to tackle anything or anyone. So why hadn't he noticed before now that she was also a woman? Quite an attractive one at that, with her olive complexion and dark brown hair pulled back from her face in a sensible ponytail. Andy cleared his throat and focused on the files again. "You mind telling me why the sudden interest in this case?" Cabrera asked. "That Mexican drug bust was small potatoes, an open and shut case." Andy shrugged. "Another case I'm working got me thinking about it. I just wanted to check the details for similarities." "So why not procure the documents yourself? Why ask me to do it?" she said. "You worked on it. I just figured it would be easier." Andy looked up. "Plus, with things the way they are around here these days, I thought there'd be less fuss." "Oh, you didn't want the temporary director to snoop in your business any more than necessary," Cabrera said. "Something like that." She nodded. "I get it. Things are tense around here. But I better not suffer any blowback." "It's nothing," Andy waved a dismissive hand. "I'll have it back in your hands before lunch." Cabrera nodded, turned, and exited the office. Andy followed her movements through the glass, even after the door was shut. So that's the end of chapter 1. These are short novellas. There's 12 chapters in each of them. And as you probably guessed from that little reading, some mayhem is about to ensue. And of course, perhaps a little bit of romance too. So that was a short reading from FRAYED Strands. It is a compilation of 3 novella-length stories based on characters from the Three Strand Cord series. I suggest you can get a paperback, as you can see, but it's also an ebook. You can get them separately or together. So that's it for now. I hope that you enjoyed this short book talk with Tracy. Next time we will read from the other one of the novellas in this series. So stay tuned for that. And for now, we'll see you. Bye-bye.